Let's take a look at a typical day at Atari and the atypical characters of which that day was comprised.
Typical day would be, I would be one of the first people in, and I would wake Rick Maurer up, who had fallen asleep from working all night the night before. He'd be lying on the computer terminal, on the keyboard. I'd wake him up and send him home.
You'd go stumbling into your office around 10 in the morning, and typically you could smell marijuana seeping out from under some offices.
I walk in the morning and try to find out, well, are there any dead bodies around, first of all? Did anybody get in trouble overnight? Is there anybody in jail? That's in the morning. I mean, check the police blotter.
And code, and how do I fix this bug? Typical programmer BS. And then a couple hours later, go round up a crony and smoke a joint on the way to lunch and have lunch.
There wasn't the sense of a business like everyone arrived at a certain time and left at a certain time. And everybody sort of had their own schedule that they fell into.
I would stroll in around 11 o'clock or so in my shorts and tank tops and flip-flops and go get my coffee and then work on whatever project I was at.
Sit down and do some work, and eventually someone would come over and start playing your game, and you'd play it back and you'd start having different features and brainstorming, and you'd go play somebody else's game.
To me, the most productive time was always the morning. A lot of people didn't come in till later. And I was never a person who stayed terribly late.
I know that the janitorial staff comes through around 3 in the morning, and they have a key, so you can't lock them out. So you have to take the little rubber wedge and wedge it under the door so that you can get a few hours sleep.
When I was working on projects, I would tend to fall into whatever schedule of that the engineer that I was working with was doing. So if they were coming in at 2 and leaving at, midnight, then that's when I would come in and leave.
Then you'd go into the game room and check out some of the arcade games and let off some steam and
go back and think and work.
You'd work until wee hours of the morning.
Get in the car with Dave and roll up a joint.
Didn't know there was a typical day. I don't think we ever
There
had
you go.
one.
That's that perfect
I never
answer.
thought we really had a particularly
There was no
typical
typical day.
No.
There were like 2 kinds of days at Atari. One kind of day was just long, drawn out, real like solving bugs in code and kind of the boring side of the game development process. And then the other day was an event day where there'd either be someone like Spielberg going through, or the Disney people were visiting, or people from the Children's Television Workshop.
That was what was so exciting about Atari, was that we got to meet a lot of really famous people. We got to brainstorm with them.
Here was Steven Spielberg. Got to play my game with him. He loved it and asked for the first one. It was pretty amazing.
I remember going and doing the Muppets. Going to New York to meet the various people who were Jim Henson and Chris Cerf, and we got taken out to 21